Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Our third game of the day will see OG's new look roster with Heavy God. We just casted Endpoint before, and this is the other side of that sword. OG on the CT side up against v1dar Gaming. Gonna be honest, don't know too much about these guys. So it should be an interesting game, if nothing else. Overpass is going to be our designated war, or battlefield, I should say, for the time being. And v1dar playing very passively to kick things off. Got a smoke lined up for the site. And all four players just outside of Monster. Hasn't thrown the smoke just yet. Now going to be tossing it in. Also Molotov in the hands of Impala CS. Smoke designated to Heaven. Won't be affecting Fiku too much for the time being, but takes a stray bullet anyway from Lomik. And down he falls. Fiku and Heavy God both dropping in a moment. And now Alf goes from strength to strength as v1dar post-plant go in. That flick from Nexius into mid-air was a thing of beauty, but I'm not sure it's going to make too much difference to the overall standing of how this round is going to come down. And Impala says no with the Glock, shredding Regali, and v1dar Gaming take first blood.
Oh my, Vince. That's no tame Impala, because the less I know, the better about that one. I've just sat down and seen an absolute spectacle from them to open this one up. A rough pistol round to lose there for OG. An OG side that feels like it actually does have, pound for pound, a good chunk of talent here. Obviously, Nexius right back at Sydney had a big run. Looked like he was going to be able to show that he can progress quite quickly in his career throughout CS2. So what have they got in store for us over the course of this one? Losing the pistol round, meaning they're down to just the USPs and a few extra tidbits, some sprinkles on top, like cake decorations. They've got the nade on Nexius, and that's it. Everyone else for v1dar rocking the SMGs and the Galils, playing a slower round out, smart stuff. Nice flash clear out as well through top con, so they're going to be able to walk on up, take control of toilets, and the bomb starts to situate itself round towards Monster. Cause the full rotate as well, Vince. The entire squad's back up on A now, so B is barren.
Bereft of any CTs. I was just trying to look into v1dar Gaming and see if there may be a tier 3, tier 4 team. Seems like there's really not much out there about these guys. Typically playing against fairly unknown opposition. So, I mean, you feel like if OG were to slip and slide out of this qualifier, this would be a pretty large upset. Very early days, of course. Pistol round into a subsequent 2-0. Very likely the outcome here. Post-plant in. Out come the CTs, trying to take some of these AKs away. Nade does very little. Doesn't quite land the right side of the cusp. And now Fiku is a man living on borrowed time. Shut down from the back. And v1dar Gaming take a 2-0 and don't take any casualties in the process. That's as good as it gets as far as they're concerned.
Looking pretty crisp as well. You know, obviously it is just the eco, so it's always hard to tell. But Torok's there on the angle he was holding. Nice peeking. Good fancy footwork because he's able to hit those shots with the Kalashnikovs. And the boys have got the drip as well, Vince. You know, this isn't your regular collection of skins. Some of these boys are rocking the big bad ones. You got the vices in the hands of Torox. This man spent about 15 grand on his gloves, so you know that translates to skill, Vince. This has got to be a tight game. It's the only way it makes sense, right?
Is that why I'm so terrible at CS2? Because I don't have any skins?
That's what it is these days, yeah.
That has to be it, right? It can't just be me being trash.
No, that's what I mean. Back in the day, Vince, 100%. But these days, you know, if you've got the better skins, that's like the 15% buff. Then you add the anime profile picture, that's a 5% buff. Then if you watch anime, that's an extra 10% on top, I believe. This is just what I've been told, of course.
Well, I know what I need to do then to improve. I'll report back to you in a couple of weeks, Jacky, and I'll let you know if I've become untrash.
Exactly. When I see you qualifying for the next RMRs, I'll know. I'll know it's all paid off. The Mat 10's paid off on this one, though. Walking on up, finding a freebie. Regali, at least ready for the pace. He wanted to try and get behind the smoke and lay the smackdown on him. Torox, crisp as ever, bites the hand off. Keto, nice turn. Almost burns his way through the second, Vince. Actually goes back in. A lot of damage done there. Pretty clean from him.
Exquisite from Keto, but he's all alone. The good, well-placed smokes on Bank and Dumpster respectively keep Fiku and Heavy God from really lending him any kind of a helping hand. And now enough time is ticked away from that site with no kits. OG are going to have to make a decision. Do they go in for this one or do they pull a plug? That kill may bait them into a false sense of security. But Axis may have done enough just by doing damage. Even if Viku picked up that frag, he didn't have enough time anyway for the defuse. And OG, the firm favorites to take this game, find themselves on the receiving end of a battering, a 3-0 spanking, as they fall back down to Deagles and 5-7s.
Man, this is a hell of a way to start things off. And I'll tell you what, Vince, added caveat to that as well, right? 3 rounds against OG, probably a pretty tasty feat in any day. But 3 rounds off OG on the T side of Overpass, a map where the T side can be a pain in the over arse. This is the dream way to get things going for v1dar. This is exactly what you want. And it's looking pretty damn good for them. Coming back into this one, you're just up against the upgraded pistol. So obviously just play the default, play the range game. Don't get too close and up in their faces where you're going to get one tap by these bad boys. Play from the distance and see what you can do. Work on those early trades. At the minute, they're just looking to bait out the utility usage from the CTs as well. And already, actually, their defaults, Vince, have looked pretty clean. The way they've been using utility off the back of one another to clear angles and peek, it's good. You can see they're going into this as a drilled roster.
Absolutely. It's one of those kind of situations where you kind of worry for some of these teams. I mean, we saw Bleed earlier just dismantle Grand Team 13-0. But v1dar clearly have some capabilities. There's no denying it. This hasn't been a fluke. This hasn't been luck. They've grinded. They've worked. They've crafted their way into this 3-0 lead. A good shot from Lomik. That Eagle was tantalizingly close to the head. And speaking of Deagles, and Keto will strike, that Molotov is going to be perfect. Absolutely perfect. It is burning. It is evaporating those CTs and keeping Keto at bay. He's isolated from his teammate, and one by one, OG walk into their graves, walk into their tomb. Keto, try as he may, cannot get the job done, and v1dar steamroll to a 4-0.
Feels like at the minute, Keto's the only one not pulling any punches, Vince. He's been hitting some mean shots, but in moments where it doesn't really accumulate in a round win, where you're looking at your 1v2s, your 1v3s, and sure, he's being able to battle back a little bit, he's finding impact, but he's not got any help, he's not got any backup. The A-site defense from the Famostat was crystal clean, had no one there to back him up. In this one, it's too far too gone. Whoa. Nice timing on the setup for the boost here as well, actually. They do nearly catch them on entry towards the B site. There's 2 versions of these boosts you can run now. There's the second one back by the washing machine down to outside a monster pipe. Won't need to do it here, though, as they get an opening for absolutely free. Heavy God pushes deep through the short pipe, sets up just outside a con, but he's been beheaded. Fiku goes up in a puff of smoke, and they're not even committing, Vince. This is some drilled CS we're seeing here.
Yeah, they are looking very impressive, I've got to say. I'm now wondering if my research was off, because these guys are certainly no scrubs. Meanwhile, OG are being made to look like a very ordinary team here. And when you consider some of these players, you mentioned Nexius has been having some good form. Heavy God, of course, we know is capable of great things. Keto has some sublime aim, and Regali with the AWP is quite the contender. The manner in which they've just dispatched of OG has been in itself quite surprising. Now, this round isn't a done deal just yet. 2 players of 3 stand on the B site. They have the AWP in there in the aforementioned hands of Regali. And if they do tread a bit overzealously without flashbangs, it could be to their detriment. Regali snatches the first and second kill. Maybe this is where we're seeing some of those amateurish mistakes come into play. Molly now tossed in with a smoke. A fast shot, but it's not going to connect. And Axis is last man standing. The beautiful turnaround here as Regali kicks everybody down with that 4K. 3 AWPs, 1 sidearm frag, and that's more like the OG that we know.
Crazy thing is as well, right? Kind of praise them for it in the moment where they've been able to find those opening picks onto the B site because they backed off. They didn't hard commit to the play, realizing they still had a huge manpower advantage. It felt like v1dar from that point, you could have sold the fake a little bit. You could have backed off, played with the timing, played with the space created, and planted those seeds of doubt in the mind of OG. Instead, they back up for a little bit, exchange the Molotov, and then go back in for a retake on the site they had laid claim to, giving Regali time to play with the AWP, and they feed him those 1v1s. Not the dream scenario, and it comes back to haunt them, but they go straight back to it. The ghost at the feast as they want to try and again lay claim to B. Keto absolutely unleashed with the hot rod as he turns up the pace of the game, battling back with 2 frags on entry there and leaving it down to a 3v2 retake. Can they hold on to the site now they've got their hands on it?
It's looking even better now that Torox takes the initiative, catches Regali off guard, and in doing so evens the odds. The scale's no longer tipping in favor of OG. If anything, you'd say the T's are in an advantageous position because of how low this time is, and Torox is taking that balance and throwing it into the wind as Impala comes out swinging, and v1dar makes short work of OG. It's a one and done, and that will play hell with the economy of OG. 5-1, they trail on the CT side of Overpass.
And it's rough, isn't it? It's so hard to hammer home that point because that's really where the emphasis is. That's the CT side with a team that should be going from strength to strength. Regali, as soon as he had that round to stretch his legs with the AWP, you got to be delivering. CT side Overpass, that is your playground. You can take peeks left, right, and center, roam for frags, be the playmaker. Into this one, he got one opportunity on a site defense to show up. Following round, felt like he was snuffed out in seconds, overwhelmed by the sheer aggression from v1dar, that now are back in a comfortable position. Again, you've got the firepower, you've got the utility, and you've got all of this confidence going up against an OG side that you're starting to condition to play very aggressively towards B because they're honestly scared of these B take Vins.
Exactly, and that softens them up on the A site, and you just wonder, when will v1dar pull the trigger? When will they try to get a bit aggressive over on A side and catch this OG roster off guard? And it has to also be said, the one round that OG picked up was off a flurry, a hero play from Regali with his back to the wall in a deficit they probably shouldn't have won. The stack is looking good though for OG. Out into the slaughter, v1dar will tread slowly. And as Avi misses his chance, misses another shot, but gets the Glock to work. Alf, pardon me, is the man that picks that one off. And Torox falls down to the P250. OG is somehow holding on for dear life to this round.
This is a rough one. 30 seconds on the clock. Impala walking in with the AK, looking to see what he can get done. Nexius up close with the Deagle, demolished instantly. The 5-7 in the hands of Keto. Say goodbye as it's a no-go from the play on short, and it's all down to Regali. He was the hero previously. Can he repeat that history once again? They're getting the bomb down in the blink of time, and Impala will snatch it. That's 6, Vince. They are running away with the game right now on the T side.
And there's not really anything that you look at OG here right now. I'm also amazed they've not called a tactical timeout at any point in this game. Like, especially now, you've just got to buy, call a tac timeout, try and figure out where to plug in those holes, what you're going to do into this round. But none of these rounds have really filled me with confidence, Jacky. As I said before, the one round they picked up was Regali just going ham with the AWP. Back to the wall on pillar, and a couple of mistakes made from v1dar in the process. Apart from that, they have been second best at every single twist, every single turn. And if Al fancies it, there was maybe a chance through the smoke. Of course, way easier said than done from our perspective, but 2 players have crossed to the right-hand side that could potentially catch the T's off guard. You maybe check for one, unlikely you check for both.
And it's interesting, just the sheer differences of ways we're seeing OG attempt to defend towards this B-bomb site. The way they've been using more manpower, the way they've been using different setups, trying to keep you guessing each time, and actually make these plays work to hold off the oncoming wave that is this T side that really have felt a little bit uncontrollable. They felt like the barbarians at the gate, Vince. They just kind of storm on in. There's no real easy answer. This default setup they've gone for in the opening moments of playing anti-flash in the close cubby, they've given up on that. They've instead opted on Regali being the hero once again and hope that he gets given those free 1v1s. They do. They walk into it. You've got to know your angles, Vince. That sun's going to give you away with the shadow, but this time they look for a quick trade. Won't matter though, as Fiku swings and he is beheading them. 3 frags found in a matter of seconds, all down to Torox. And I think he's about to be blown away. 1 HP in a dream, but it's not a very good one.
like a bit of deja vu. I mean, sure, it wasn't Regali this time that picked up all the kills, but it was almost identical, as you said, just walking out. There's no flashes. They had tons, loads of utility on their collective belt there, v1dar, and elected to use almost none of it. I don't know if they're trying to catch the CTs off guard, like in transition with a rotation up onto the A site, but the fact of the matter is that v1dar have barely even been on this side of the map this entire game, as opposed to what, like the pistol round, all the rifle rounds have been on B site. There's no reason for OG to stack that. Now they're going to be changing it up, but it's only with a Galil and an AK-47, and they've gone for a full-on investment. Regali at range this time, gets aggressive through bathrooms, and is rewarded with his aggression with the frag on to Axis. There's a second as well. Much better from OG, and they're tantalizingly close to breaking the T's down economically. So this 4-round deficit could quickly be tied back up to 2.
It's good as well. They're feeding the hot hand to the AWPer now. So that's going to be bringing up his confidence level and letting him feel like, okay, I can try and set the pace of the game a little bit more. Obviously, previously, it's just those B plays. That's it. That's all he got to try and defend from. Here, you get to go for the swing out towards toilets. Flashed off the angle, but still stays alive. That's going to be important. Even confident to repeak with the swing from Nexius. Great comms there from OG in the way they played for the reface. Nexius does go down. He's been slapped by the Deagle. Nomic has the AK, was hoping that he could catch him off guard with the close peek, but Regali activated Vince, even swings into action, trying to grasp a little bit more from the round. Alv's got to back off, needs to get the full reload into the AWP. He's actually going to go for a bit of a smarter play. Not fancying his chances in the overall round, throws away the weapon, so that can't be recovered. You got to invest more money. Picks up the Kalashnikov, and we'll see how much more of a dent he can make.
He's wasted enough time as well. They may very well assume that he's going to go for that rotation down. They do have Heavy God there watching the backside. So he is going to look to try and save onto this AK-47, potentially even trade up to the AWP, but now he's ruining that decision. It was the correct decision, first and foremost. If he found a player in bathrooms and suddenly this is a 2v1, he's definitely going for that round. As it stands, holds on to the AK-47. It's going to be the only real weapon they're going to have at their potential, but do they force behind this? It feels like that may be a bit of a misplay. They'd be able to get a full-on purchase into the next round. And buying here would just gift-wrapped OG every opportunity to draw this one back level. So they do have some threats, Jacky. They've got a Deagle, they've got an AK, they've got a P250. Any damage here is worth a lot onto the CTs because their economy is still yet to get fully stabilized. They're still struggling a little bit.
It's like the song, Vince. Don't rock the boat. But they have rocked the boat, baby. It's not looking too good for them. It's still one of those where for OG, you got to imagine, even just the stability in terms of them feeling like, okay, yeah, we got a good few rounds in the bag. We've got ourselves a bit of a springboard. I don't know if you're ever going to be able to establish that because your CT side's been weak. No matter how we phrase it, it really hasn't been that clean from them. Keto, though, he's been a difference maker time and time again, and that is beautiful. Different angle, switching up the pace in terms of his positioning, tries to catch him off guard, and it pays off. For Nexius, it's not the same sort of story. He's found the wide swing, bypasses him, holding angles in CS2. It's not easy, especially when someone comes running at you with the P250. He crumbles under the pressure. And for what this is, basically just an eco for the T's. If they can get a bit more out of it, deal some damage onto the CT side economy, it could have been pretty nice for them. But in the end, it is only the one on Nexius, so it works out for OG to save their own money. And now it's looking a bit healthier, right? Not as green around the guilds. You've got 6k on a few players. They've actually got room to drop if they take casualties.
Yeah, exactly. And that tactical timeout, now they're finally going to call it, get on the same page. And you kind of touched on it there. One of the biggest criticisms I think a lot of people have over the current state of CS2 is the Pika's advantage. It is very, very powerful. So you kind of saw that firsthand there on the playground. The drive-by, fast wraparound just got the upper hand. That's something you're going to see a lot. It's one of the reasons why I feel like players are more likely in CS2 to not necessarily hold those angles but get more aggressive or completely pull the plug, and why you see so much re-peaking in this game as opposed to CSGO. It's just going to take a bit of teething and a bit of growing pains for players to kind of like find their way into this game, I have to feel. But speaking of which, OG have definitely found their way back into this. 2-round deficit. v1dar still on the ropes, economically speaking, even after tapping on that previous one. 3 Galils, 2 AKs, no AWP in play, and a few players coming right out of the gate with a lack of utility. So OG had a really rocky start. There's no getting around from that one, but it feels like they're starting to find that momentum. They're starting to find that tempo that suits all 5 of them.
No, it does feel like we're starting to get into more cohesive gameplay now. Somewhat more like the 5 fingers on one hand, rather than looking like Freddy 3 fingers, which is what you want. That is beautiful, though. Clean teamwork on that. The other player sets up to break the smoke with a HE, you peek in off the back of it, and Nexius is gifted a frag that the T's were just not ready for. That's that next element of play that comes in with CS2, with the dynamic smokes. They will trade it back though, just playing the more raw style of CS where you take the gun and click on the head. Same story here for Impala as he strikes back with the Kalashnikov. Nexius's reign of terror is finally ended, but he's already found himself a hat-trick and put his teammates in a position that is a clutchable round, Vince. But Impala, he's got the advantage onto Fiku there with the flank, and now we're facing a raw 2v2 retake. Have they got the chops for it?
The whole dynamic of this round just switched as soon as Impala snatched the life away. And out they come. Loads of noise is made. Alf may not even have been required to pick up that second kill because Heavy God was in such a bad crossfire killing field position. But it will be v1dar finally, after 3 on the bounce, getting some success and pushing OG back against the ropes. It's 2 MP9s. They do have their AWP in the hands of Regali, who's been their best player by quite a margin. And now it's v1dar's time to make OG sweat a little with their tactical timeout. Get on the same page. Regardless, though, 7 rounds on the T side of Overpass. At worst case scenario, man, would they take this, Jacky. This is a very good outcome, all things considered.
This is ideal for him, right? This is exactly what you'd want. I mean, no matter what happens here, Vince, even if they go on to lose this next round, you've won the half through and through. Your T side has paid off massively. We've seen teams limp through T side halves on Overpass and then go absolutely, big mode on their CT side. So this is one that you will not be turning your nose up at. And there's still room for a little bit more. You could have a 4-round lead off the back of this if they pick up an 8th going into this one. In reality, it just depends on what the play is. There's been a few stopping and starting sort of spurting plays, like a car that's had the wrong fuel put in it towards the B plays with some of the takes they've gone for. I haven't liked the look of the odd play in between, where they've basically fed themselves to the wolves. This time they take the MAT 10 and look for the early opener. The short aggression is displayed, but it's a clean trade game. Alf really has found his openers there. It's a big way to create space for the T's and shift this back in the direction of v1dar Gaming. How do you clean up from this one, though? 4v3, you've already caused a massive ruckus at the B site, and they've fully committed onto this, Vince. They've entirely rotated over. Cutting noise is going to be your best friend, so they're just playing with the time, and they're wrapping back up towards mid, looking to set their focus on the A site.
Yeah, one of the reasons this works so well is how conditioned OG have been to these B-sided plays, just time after time after time. v1dar have been pummeling this B side of the map. So although they've left Nexius on the site, he is by himself. He has no flashes, no smokes, no incendiaries to buy himself any time to act as a bit of an ally just for a few moments. He is completely alone with those 20 bullets locked into the A1S. So he's going to need a quick kill or 2. And to pivot back in. If he dies without much in return, that will be curtains for the CTs, but 2 frags is more than enough. He's given his team a chance. 2v2 retake may be coming up.
Tight on time. Bombs in the hands, though. They know they can get this one down. The flank could have been the difference maker, and Keto still makes it work. 15 seconds on the timer. He thinks Regali's closer than he is. Hope that he could bait him in for the peak off the back of the fake tap on the bomb. Dashes the smoke. Regali lurking towards bank, might be able to cash out with this one as he hits the shot through the wall, shuts down Torox, and grabs them a 5th round. That's a big bailout round for OG as well. It makes your life so much easier, Vince. The difference even from the mental side, right, of kind of looking up at the scoreboard and thinking it's an 8-4 versus a 7-5 could do wonders for them.
Yeah, and it was Nexius that really dug them out of that ditch. You know, he got his spade out, got his shovel out, and got to work. Those 2 kills he picked up on Bathroom were just massive, massive, massive. It forced and funneled v1dar to watch 2 separate angles. They got flanked from Connector. That's not happening if Nexius goes down without a fight. So they would have had 2 extra pairs of eyes to charge that one down and batter them away. Exquisite work from Nexius, but they still find themselves in a 2-round deficit. You lose this pistol, you're still up the creek without a paddle. So the job is not done yet, Jacky. They've got to get right back into this and focus. Get themselves on the same page. Can they do to v1dar what was done against them in that first half? Make them uncomfortable, never stable, never secure. Here we go.
Straight on in with a quick old B bombardment. Many sets of dualies in play, but you wouldn't believe it, Blink, Vince, because in a blink of an eye, they've gone, mate. Everyone's been absolutely decimated, other than just Axis and Alv. They've got the last sets of dualies in play, but they're just being dinked down by the Glocks on the quick face. Heavy God lays claim. Heavy is the hand there on the entry. And Alf, the Na'Vi dualies in his hands, can he channel some sort of spirit as simple in a round like this? Because this is a complex one to solve. You're outnumbered 1-3. You have not really a lot of time to make quick work of the T's. Hits the first, clean tracing onto Nexius' head as well, but cannot pick up the pieces. And OG, they get the needed pistol round. It's a bit of a reset now, right? You bail yourselves out. You can project yourselves into a T side far easier than the chance they would have had if this round slipped through their fingertips.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's v1dar that are going to be feeling the pressure now, feeling the burn, because do they buy? Do they save? They kind of going for a little bit of both. The Deagle on Axis, I think there's a bit of fall damage there as well for Alv as he tries to push down to the B site. So this is really where we're going to see what v1dar are made of. Can they stand the pressure that OG are about to apply? Because OG never looked stable and secure on that CT side. They were constantly submerged. The CT economy really worked against them as well. Took a couple of hero plays to even get them off the mark in the first place. Well, now it's v1dar's time to feel that burn, to feel how that is really applied to them directly. Axis caught in the middle of nowhere behind the tree will be his final resting place. But that's still 4 players to find. However, it is the Deagle. It is the main threat, the main danger that's been taken off the table in the process.
Thing is, it feels like one of those where you sever the first head of the Hydra. A few more will grow back in its place. These USPs, if used well, with the opportunities you're given, with a bit of a slower round being brought to the table here by OG, there's still room for damage. If you can soften them up, you can potentially put them down in a casket early. Impala's had a good lay of claim towards the A site. And he's got a read on this as well, Vince. Oh, so much damage. The difference if he found that frag could have worked wonders for them. Instead, they're still looking big on this one. You've got site control, you've got the weapons you need, and Keto's ready for the flank.
It's laboured, gets one. But there are strength in numbers. Plenty of SMGs to go around. Plenty of bullets to distribute onto the oncoming CT side, and it's going to be more money padded, more money straight to a very happy accountant. The MAC-10 doing all the work in that round, and we are dead even, 7 apiece. v1dar Gaming now will have a buy. It includes an AWP, but it is a glass cannon AWP, Jacky. That is a potential danger and banana peel that v1dar are self-inflicting. Let's see if Alf can get it done, though. Maybe he'll prove to be a mad genius yet.
He's got to keep them guessing as well. That's going to be the big part of it, right? Being able to roam here, being able to find a way to really make that AWP worth the investment in MR12, in CS2's current meta. Requires a lot of skill. On this one, it's going to be laboured and delayed. Ooh, he gets flashed off the angle and forced to back off. Barely gets himself into toilets, surviving with 11 HP. The rest of his team might not have an easy time of it, and he's getting blocked on the bins, Vince. It's a really rough round with the way this one's shaping up already.
Oh, Axis has to get that kill. He has to alleviate the pressure. Now Keto is still alive, still has that MAC-10. I've got to say, though, from OG's perspective, that was exquisite utility. Like, it really couldn't have been better placed. Perfect pop flash into the eyes of Alf, couldn't see anything. And then his teammate got flashed and forced out of the angle into a free death. Very well played from OG. More flashbangs, perfectly placed. We're seeing the difference. It was brute force, it was brute numbers when it came to v1dar's success. Here, OG are more finesse. They're more trying to just paint a masterful picture onto this site, and they're using the blood of the CTs to splatter onto the canvas. OG take the lead, and they do it in style.
The wheels are starting to come off a bit now as well. You can see it on the CT side with how many 1v1s are being given up for free towards the B-bomb site as well. It just feels a little bit more disjointed. It was in unison. A lot of the plays that were made on their T side were Wolfpack style CS, grouping up, going for bursts, going for site takes, where you would just flash, bombard in, hope you find the entries. CT side, it's not as easy as that. They're fragmented in terms of the early setups. Here, at least, they're not playing a standard default. They're going to go for more of a mid-onslaught here with the pistols, which could work if you hit your shots. Impala will strike on the first, and already picking up 2 frags and a bit of damage onto Fiku. This could actually be a round that you can make something out of. Axis! Oh, mate, he was really turning on the y-axis on that one. The M4 mauls them, Vince, and you're down to an advantage now. A 3 versus 2, where sure, you don't have the firepower for it, but you do have the manpower advantage. The battle of attrition's gone your way. If they go for a late rotate the whole way through mid, there is weapons to be recovered. If they play a close angle, they might land a lucky shot and still pick this one up.
Oh, the timing was kind of unfortunate for Torax, especially as he has no real help just from heaven, but is a P2000. How is Torax winning out in that fight against Heavy God? He had no right to even be in with a chance of winning that, and now Regali has to go hero mode again. Already picked up one, Flick's not there, they get punished against full-on pistols from v1dar Gaming. OG fall and faceplant.
These are the weirdest rounds, Vince. The most bizarre rounds to be trading with each other. OG find themselves 3 rounds on the tear, on the spin. They looked reinvigorated going into their T side. It was troublesome from the CT side. They were coughing, they were spluttering, they were stopping and starting. They just couldn't find their mojo. Now at least you picked up basically an unwinnable round with the investment you went into it with. They played smart, headstrong CS. Again, went for that more Wolfpack style. Here the nades are looking so much better as well. You bombard down. That's what, 3 HEs in quick succession that have ripped about 200 health off them. And then Axis doubles up with a 2K. This is a different sort of story now, Vince.
This is getting scary, isn't it? Axis, though, will finally fall after doing a ton of damage, single-handedly holding the site and being the stalwart, the protector, the bastion of hope for v1dar to get this surprise shock win. Regali removing the head of Torax, but it's at great cost of his HP. The only thing going in his favor is the time of being a minute left on the clock, and he does still maintain possession of the bomb. But you can see him even checking towards spawn. He has no idea where these 3 CTs are. He may just have to fall on his sword and hope for the best. Try and push out. He lived by the AWP. He may very well die by it here as Alf has the angle, but just didn't react. No shot came out from Alf. No idea what was happening from his perspective, but Regali should have been a goner. At the very least, should have fired a shot off. And now he has a chance. 44 HP separating him from his demise, and Lomik and Impala in hot pursuit. He's still not sure, though, Jacky. He's still checking his back. He assumes that a flank is coming in, but it's not there. He now knows one player is in heaven from the trajectory of that smoke, but the smoke is covering the other adversary. Very well played from v1dar in the end. It's a valiant attempt from Regali with the 3K, but it's only so much one man can do.
It's crazy how much stock just one man has had into a good chunk of these rounds. The differences of small, minute details could have made all the difference in the overall scoreline. It feels like we've had so many 1v2s, 1v3s, where it's going down to the wire in just a few moments of difference, a few seconds of reaction time that can make all the difference here in the overall game. But finally, that's the CT side being able to bring themselves back to the lead, back to running away with the game here with 1 round back in the back pocket. Still need a few more to get closer towards potentially saying this is one that they could take. But at least now they're showing us they've got a lot more to prove. No real money in the bank for OG as well. So the chances of this going from 9 to 10 are pretty damn good for them. They just cannot afford to lose this one. Can't afford to dent that CT side economy. Throw over a round as a freebie to the Ts and let OG rebuild their confidence. They have no utility. It's just raw deagle sprinkled in with 1 Glock and a P250. But can the CT side hold back the oncoming wave? That's the big question. And are they even committed to this? It looked like they wanted to set up for a quick play on the B. A bit of a hit on that one. Instead, they've shuffled back, Vince, up through connector, grouping in toilets now with about 50 seconds left on the clock. They can have a raw path towards A with just Alv's AWP being the denying factor.
And the problem with that is that it's not automatic. You can only take one shot at a time. However, he can relocate, reposition, and fast rotations can come in. Does nail the shot, and the rest will follow. Fast flank from Lomik as he capitalizes with 2 spray downs. And the only way that could have gone bad is if Alv misses the first shot and he just gets swarmed. It didn't happen. Solid counteractive play, reactionary play from v1dar as they hit 10 first. And now OG have to dig into their pocket. And they pull out an AWP, they pull out a couple of Glils, but they've got to make this work. Regali's been very impressive today, Jacky. 20 kills, over 100 ADR. He's been playing his heart out, but unfortunately, he hasn't really had much of a supporting cast behind him. Heavy God, uncharacteristically, very quiet today.
It's weird, isn't it? You know, it feels like Heavy God really is one of those talents where he's come into the scene. He's got such a large career ahead of him as well. You know, he's still really quite young. I believe he's only 21, Vince. So it's the fact that, you know, this guy could have a huge timeline ahead of him in CS2. Floating around that scene with Endpoint being handpicked by OG. You want to see him come out pounding his chest, showing the skill level that I know he's got. I've seen him on LAN. I've seen him online before many times. He is a bit of a demon on the sticks. He's quick. He's really smart with some of his more methodical, strategic plays. Normally, very clear, crisp with his positioning. You see him always having a bit of an upper hand in some of the angles he plays. Going into this game, it's felt like he's been outclassed quite a few times with the positioning. So something not quite right there for Heavy God. His teammates at least picking up the pieces to bail him out. Alv just given that one for free. Keto had to find the trade. The repeat comes in from the CT AWP and it cleaves. Regali at least is able to hold the angle, but there's still a player in close toilets. Impala, he's laying low, crouching on him like an animal in beast mode. He's about to pounce, Vince, and he takes the head off of Regali.
And Heavy God instantly 180 rotates like, huh? Where did he come from? It's too little too late, Heavy God. You're all alone. And a God has now been slain by the hands of Impala, who just takes this round away from OG pretty much by himself with that flank through bathrooms. I already mentioned that OG's buying that last round was dicey, but they have no economy to fall back on. Yes, round loss bonus is coming in, 4 rounds of it, but that doesn't afford them the luxury of going back in for rifles. They have to go down to Tech 9s. They're 2 rounds away, v1dar, from causing a pretty big upset, a pretty big shock in this game, and OG can do very little about it.
This is wild, mate. OG. In what, round 3 of the first open qualifier here for the PGL RMRs for Europe. It could all go up in a puff of smoke. Their chances of even guaranteeing themselves a spot towards the closed qualifiers, of making it out through the first qualifier, it could be going the way of Endpoint. The Endpoint alumni and Heavy God might be joining his former team of being dashed to the wayside if they can't mount a comeback. Nexius. The young gun, the superstar, the man from the academy roster that ascended to the main team back in Sydney, trying to again prove his worth. He gets himself an opening pick on the Deagle. He has the M4 to work with, utilities there as well. But it's this AWP of Alv. That's been the crazy thing, Vince. The scope has been so much more beneficial for the CT side of v1dar since they've been able to bring him out to the table. Will it work out again here?
Every chance to just pop off. The flash is good though. Has to fall back into the fire and flame. Smoke there to douse it down a little bit, keeps him alive. He needs some help though. Regali on the cross takes his head clean off. 2v4 in favor of OG. And Torox and Axis both stuck in the smoke. Axis picking up the AWP from his fallen comrade, but it won't be good. It won't have any use whatsoever. And our Torox quite literally with his back to the wall. The only way is forward, but that's into a barrage of bullets. Put down exquisitely from Nexius, and OG pick up a 9th. That's more like it, but it's again that man Regali that has to make something happen out of nowhere. He has been the X factor consistently for OG, but we're still waiting for more players to show their hand. Yes, Nexius has had flashes of brilliance, but apart from that, it's been very quiet on the OG front.
You can't win games like this with just one man. And the problem is as well, it feels like it's a bit of a pass the baton type situation. Regali has a round on a defense. Nexius has a round on an entry. But you can't keep trading. Everyone needs to be activated. And Alv really trying to dial it up to 11. He gets spinal tapped through the smoke by Regali. Shuts him down and gets an opening pick that's needed for OG. These are game-winning rounds now as well. These are the real commodity. When we're this late into the overall flow of Overpass, anything you can mount, anything you can give yourself to build a bit of a buffer back, to get closer and closer towards that 11-11 scoreline and actually have a chance to stake a claim in the game is so important. Axis recovered the AWP, strikes at the feet, but that's all it is. A bit of damage, Vince, a tag onto the AWPer for the T side. OG still standing strong with 5, and it gets even better for him. Bullet to the brain for Impala. You're down to a duo for v1dar. That's it.
A duo of M4s and very little money in the back pocket. v1dar sticking together. The wise decision affords them the potential clutch, but also the potential save. But they have to live together or die together. That is the mission. AK dropped, but they don't want to get overzealous and greedy to pick that one up. Meanwhile, Heavy God leading the charge. The spearhead of the push will be in first, cleaning their angles, making sure that there's no shenanigans afoot on the B site. Now they feel content to go for the plant, and pretty much what I just highlighted is going to come to fruition. v1dar will save these 2 weapons. They do have an AK now. It's a nice little upgrade. Unlikely the OG will chase too much. They don't have tons of cash surplus, but also don't want to give away an extra AK. So I think this will end a stalemate, but it will mean that OG have brought us back to a 10-11 scoreline. And v1dar, I think it's safe to say, Jacky, they're starting to get a little bit shaky here. We saw that desperation play from Alv in the previous round through short pipe, yielding absolutely nothing, putting his team into a horrible position. Maybe a tactical timeout wouldn't be a bad idea for v1dar, just to get on the same page, just to detox a little bit, get a couple of quick breaths in, and make sure everyone is nice and calm.
And I think that's a big one that separates, the experience from potentially some of the younger talent. And they actually do make the heads-up call to go for it. You love to see that, Vince. There's been so many qualifiers throughout Counter-Strike history where you've got people like us on the end of the mic begging, pleading that these teams take a timeout because you can see the tunnel vision. You can see the pressure getting to them, and they just don't, because the comms are the same thing each time where you're going, look, we almost won the round. Let's just keep going. We'll finally convert it. This time, they do go for the timeout. This is beautiful. You can slow down the pace of the game. You've got to figure out what you're going to do with your limited cash as well, because the money isn't brilliant. You're basically just trying to piece together the best buy you can possibly have to work with, because you can't afford to give up the round for free. You've still got to fight for it. But on the other hand, you need to save some of that green. You've got to bring it into the next round, because if you want to win this one and not play it out for OT, you can't spend it all in one place. Alv does force into the Deagle though. Buys himself Armor Deagle with full utility, bringing himself down to $50. Quick refund at the last second for the util and armor, Vince. He second-guessed himself. I was worried he had thrown away his chance of having a good buy into the next round, but he's actually made a smart play of refunding.
Yeah, one of the benefits of CS2, of course, is you can refund purchases. If this was CSGO, he'd be straight up boned right now. But yeah, definitely the correct decision. That was a big head-scratcher for me. But as we mentioned, the timeout has came and gone, but no one is watching Lomix back. He's just stuck on party by himself. Like, typically, if you have 2 rifles, you're either going to play aggressive together, or you're going to have some kind of bodyguard system, some buddy system in play. Just losing one of your rifles like that is such a waste. And for what in return? Like, absolutely nothing. That is such a strange decision.
Mate, this is rough. It feels like your opportunities in this round are almost completely gone. You're basically relying on a hero round from Torox, who was looking really crisp towards the start of the game. I must say, T-side, he was hitting some worldies, but the longer it's gone on, it feels like he hasn't been able to maintain that pace. They go for a nice timing flank here towards Toilets, but Heavy God's in position, and he'll trade. Alv is destined to fall. Now it all shapes up into basically an overtime or bust scenario. Both teams neck and neck, 11 rounds apiece. This is why I'm glad Alv made the smart decision to go back to spawn, refund all his bells and whistles. He didn't need the armor, he didn't need the deagle, he didn't need the utility, but he does bloody need an AWP in a round like this, and he's got the money for it. Big Green comes out, the rest of the side making do with what they can afford. Limited utility on a few players, but they've got armor, they've got a kit, and there is at least rifles in play, Vince. All or nothing round now for them.
By far the closest game that we have casted today, and I don't think we've had many overtimes or close ties in these opening few rounds. There's been a lot of stomps out there on the battlefields. So a super, super close game. We had another one early on with, of course, Sashi getting their victory. The Danes against Endpoint. Here we go, v1dar playing this one slowly. They do have players in bathroom. 3 players in close proximity. Watching long as Lomik from the front side of the site. Playing aggressively on short as well will be Axis. This gives him tons of intel as he watches through the short pipe to see if maybe Monster is being aggressed on. But OG want none of this. They have themselves the effective hips of the map through the centerpiece of the connector, and they can quickly wrap around if they so choose. But this first kill means so much, and Alvis missed his chance.
Oh, he even goes back in for the re-peek, a mistake that we've seen him make quite a few times. This one, he doesn't bail him out with his individual heroics. Lomik at least lops the head off of Fiku, but you're down to just 2. Axis in the rear had to win the fight, Vince. Takes down Heavy God. Call him Gore the Butcher at this point as he slays the god and looks to strike back inside of the toilets. Regali repositioning, leaves himself susceptible to the AK. The one-tap decimates him, and now you're in a 2v2. He's running straight towards the bomb, looking for the defuse in the smoke. They've got to find the frag, Vince. He's just sticking it. He's trying to get the timing off, and he's grabbed it.
How has Axis pulled that round out of his backside? From Gore the Butcher to Batman, Christian Bale up in this game. He just steals that round away, and no one was even anticipating that full defuse could come in. They got the Torx. They took him down. Full defuse in the smoke at 11-11 with everything on the line. Your potential chance to go to the RMR, and OG have completely whiffed their chance. There is no way that v1dar should have been close in that round in that 2v2.
That is insanity. It's such an overpass retake round as well. That's what's despicable about it, mate. It's one of those that you see happen time and time again. A surefire round that you need to win. Somehow you just bombard your way onto the site and get the one tap off on the bomb, full defuse inside of the smoke, no reaction, no repercussions. And that's how they make it to 12. That's the round they win after losing 3 on the spin for the scoreline to be tied. Overtime still potentially on the cards. OG, now you're the ones that are staring defeat in the face, Vince. This is absolutely wild.
It really is, and they have no one to blame but themselves. And oh, the touchdown from Torx, a nuclear warhead in the face of that B play. The monster has been slain, and our Regali has to try and pick up the mantle. He has been quite the beast, to be fair to him, but this may be a bridge too far. His partner in crime's gone down, and v1dar Gaming have caused the upset. OG eliminated.